Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Inside Movies Galore. I'm your host, David Streggy, and today I have another review for you, and this one is going to be a big one because I have something to do with it. And in order to go into it, I have to explain a little bit. Several years ago, I found out about a film called MILFs versus Zombies, which I loved the title of it, and even though it was a somewhat of a crappy film, I loved the idea behind it, and I loved the gore effects that the director had for it, and his storylines got better as they went along. And so ultimately, I don't know how it came about, but I messaged the Facebook page, and then I got a copy of MILFs versus Zombies, as well as a copy of Ghoulish Tales, which at the time I'd seen online as well. So these were my first introductions to Brad Twigg's films. And the Ghoulish Tales was an anthology that his first anthology, where he actually created like 3 tales to go with a Christmas kind of a theme. And I'm glad I was able to get a copy of both of these. So on and so forth. Ultimately, I ended up meeting him in a collector group. Not meeting him, but he was selling a bunch of newer films, and I'm a hardcore collector, and we ultimately started up a relationship / friendship, and I've been buying from him ever since, and I guess I've been kind of help because he sells his films for helping get some of his films funded, and which is fine. It's a cool relationship, and he's come in handy with being there as a friend, and ultimately because he's helped me out with getting a lot of my source material for some of my reviews that I've had, and keeping up with some of the times. He comes in handy because sometimes he has some things that I don't have yet, and he has some ins and outs where I do not, and I don't mind sharing a little bit of my secrets. But ultimately, because of my friendship with him, he was nice enough to put my name in on Fiendish Fables. You can find my name in the special thanks section of the Frames of Fear and Frames of Fear 2. And because of his help getting some of my source material and selling them to me really cheap, he didn't have to sell them to me as cheap as he did. Ultimately, I returned the favor and threw $800 into his film Wrestlemassacre, which is the film that I am speaking of now. And Brad, if you're listening, thank you for letting me be a part of the production. I'm sorry that I could only give you the money when I could. I work a 9-to-5 job, and ultimately it paid off in the end. So I was pleased with the I was pleased with this rough copy. So those of you who are listening, this is a rough copy of Wrestlemassacre that I am reviewing. It may not be the total end product, but I wanted to get my thoughts out on the film. Now, the film stars a wrestler who plays Randy, and the wrestler's name is Richie Avocado, or Acevedo. Sorry, I got the name wrong at first, but he has actually played in or acted in a few of Brad Pitt's films, and in fact, he acted as a party guest in a zombie in Mills vs. Zombies. He acted as Biff in Frames of Fear, a medical examiner in Fiendish Fables, and ultimately he now plays Randy in Wrestlemassacre, which Randy evidently does some yard work for a few people, and evidently he's attached himself to Becky, who is played by Rosanna Nelson, and she evidently goes out with Owen, and or has a brother, or he's basically a groundskeeper, and he longs to be a wrestler, and he's put down by a lot of people. He's put down by the people he works for, and someone finds out that he has this weird fascination with Becky, and gets jealous because of it, and ultimately he gets fired from his job because the guys who run the groundkeeper business don't want him working with him anymore because of how freakish he got, because evidently he was spying on the one man's wife in the window, and so he got fired from them. Now, when he went to go sign up for this wrestling match thing, he got his ass kicked by the man who ultimately he looked up to, and when he got his ass beat, he went back to his father, who ultimately Randy's character snapped under all the pressure. So he once he went into this violent rage, kind of went into a Michael Douglas falling down period, and he started to use wrestling moves, actual wrestling moves, on each of the people that had attacked him mentally and physically, and anyone who got in his way, he just literally tore apart or wrestled to death. And not only that, he actually began to create this Ed Geenish looking title belt from the people that he had killed, and he did it all for Becky, the one that he loved. Now, there are 6 wrestlers that actually did play in this film. That would be besides Richie Acevedo. And Richie Acevedo was his father was the Cuban assassin, and ultimately, when Acevedo went into wrestling, he took his father's wrestling name and became the that name. And then we got then we had Rene Dupree, Nikolai Volkov, which R.I.P. He just recently died. He played the father of Randy. Tony Atlas, Jimmy Valiant, the Sandman, Manny Fernandez, and Jimmy Flame. So these are all the wrestlers that are involved in Wrestlemassacre. And I thought that the gore was definitely pretty decent. Being a producer and being a little bit more involved, I thought that the ending was really, really good. And I'm not going to spoil the ending because I want people to see it. And so I'm ultimately proud of the film so far. If it changes any bit slightly, I'm cool with it. So definitely check it out. If this sounds like a film that you would definitely watch, then please feel free to watch it on your own. I know it hasn't been released yet, so I don't want to say too much about what happened, but there are some characters that are involved that evidently one young man who is connected with Becky, which Julio Bana Fernandez plays Owen. Owen evidently gets himself into debt and ultimately is set upon by a gang who wants their money back. But that's all I'm going to say about the film anymore. So definitely when it comes out, grab yourself a copy from Brad if you can. He is now going to events to sell the film. Richie Acevedo is going to some of these events, so definitely check the film out. Hopefully you like my description of the film, and I'm definitely proud of this endeavor, and I look forward to promoting it with Brad when he has the time to take an interview from me. So in any case, like and subscribe to my page. Hopefully you've enjoyed my review, and I have more exciting films to talk about when I get around to them. Have a good afternoon or morning wherever you are. Thank you for listening.